Hi, Jeasy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just going through the list, your background's insane. You are a fight movement director, a weapons specialist, an emerging technology specialist in virtual production. You have your own production studio. You also teach a brand new master's course at Georgia State University, and you still have your private virtual production courses. You're blending storytelling and gamification and virtual design to create these projects. I think that's what a lot of our users aspire to do. And they can learn so much from you.
Thank you so much, Diana. It's really a fascinating journey that I'm on. Just to go back a little bit in time, I actually come from traditional cinematography. I am a film editor, first and foremost, and then a director, writer. And I think I have pretty much done every part in the production pipeline. And yes, it's been really exciting. But one thing that I really enjoyed, even as an editor or a continuity editor or a director, was looking at actors and performers, right? And the storytelling aspect of it. And as you had mentioned, I do come from martial arts. So movement has been something that has always fascinated me. I have, in another lifetime, been a theater actor as well. One thing that was important for me always in telling powerful narrators was not so much the dialogue, it was the emotion and the motion. And I'll repeat that again. It's the emotion and the motion. How do you bring that empathy and that emotional connectedness to your audience? And I started working with actors and performers and just helping to bring the director's vision to life. Yes, dialogues can do amazing stuff, but film media has changed over the years. Right now, when we talk about any kind of entertainment media, and especially with emerging technologies and this Instagram Reels and TikTok, and everyone's a filmmaker, literally, and a storyteller, everyone just focuses on the face and on the spoken word, right? It's not so much about the movement anymore. But that made me, or the researcher in me, start looking more into why is that happening? Why are people telling stories that the audience cannot empathize with? That's where, using my martial art practice, we started the Imperial School of Swordsmanship in New Zealand prior to moving to Atlanta, Georgia. And we started training actors and performance in the fight direction and the fight choreography. And when working with directors, they just wanted the action, but there was something missing. And that was the key moment, right? It's a dip. It's almost like the uncanny valley. The mind is trying to absorb the story and it goes, it's nice, but something's missing. I can't put a finger on it. And that is the emotion and the motion aspect. So that's what I started paying more attention into, and kind of that poured me into the emerging technology world. And I came across DeepMotion. We were working with Rococo motion capture systems as well. And it was amazing. But when I saw DeepMotion and what could be created with that, just through recording, rehearsal, and the pre-visualization. And as an editor, I think the many years of argument, who is a better storyteller, is it a writer, director, or an editor? I think an editor is a better director, but I'm biased. That is where I realized that, hey, virtual production is not brand new. We've been doing it for many years since we've been telling story, even from way back, the cave drawings. If you look at cave drawings, those hieroglyphs or pictographs, rather, if I put it that way, if you try to study them, they are all about motion. Whether somebody's hunting a deer, it's a person in motion, right? And that is what the brain assimilates. Ah, it's a person who was on a hunt. But if that motion was not visualized in some shape or form, it would be a person and a deer. And that was it. Yeah, that's how, long story short, got into the motion capture realm. But motion capture is motion capture. I think is slightly misunderstood by the general populace, especially with the indie market. Motion capture, people believe, is a plug and play solution, and it's all about the tools. No, it's not about the tools. It's about solutions. There are a multitude of tools out there, and how long is a piece of string? How much money do I have to spend? But end of the day, if we understand performances and how do you get that, again, emotion in the motion, that any tool becomes an industry standard.
Can you talk a little bit more about the courses that you teach and what advice do you give to your students?
Absolutely. About 2 years back, we saw a gap in the market, especially during the COVID lockdown, when Epic Games started pushing virtual production more prominently, that yes, the newcomers going into academia were being taught the tools, but they were being taught for what was previously. So they were preparing them for the current industry standard. But by the time those students or participants would graduate, they're already outdated. And more than that, the industry professionals, anyone having 5+ years of experience, doesn't necessarily have the time, energy, and the inclination to go and sit in a traditional academic environment to do a 3-year or a 2-year degree or a diploma program. So that's where we created Virtual Production Dojo, and it's an industry-based training academy and follows the route of how a production studio is run. So what we do is we train industry professionals and newcomers in the shortest route possible between A and B. So A is, I've got an idea. I think the story would be a hit. Great. How do we make it happen? So that's what we train them using emerging technologies from Revolution, Character Creator, and iClone, as well as Epic Games Unreal Engine. Virtual Production Dojo is an Unreal Engine authorized training academy, the only one in New Zealand, and now, of course, expanding in America as well. And we are also Revolution authorized training academy. But more than that, if I can put it this way, Diana, it's not the tools again. So we teach the skills and we give the tool. So we take the participants through the program with the shortest route. So they learn the skills and they get the tools, and then they don't have an excuse not to tell that story. Funding is not an excuse. With this technology and with what DeepMotion has brought into the market, especially with the freemium accounts, that empowers, democratizes the indie market. The so-called AAA market isn't a marketplace, right? You're only as good as your last project, so to speak. So the indie market, there are powerful narratives to be told. And the biggest stumbling block has always been, how do I bring that level of professionalism that big VFX studios are able to do? And now we have the answer. Thanks to DeepMotion, thanks to Unreal Engine, Revolution, and all the other new emerging platforms. So apart from that, of course, as you mentioned, I recently moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I've taken up a new appointment as Professor of Practice in Virtual Production and VFX at the Creative Media Industries Institute. That's a bit of a mouthful, but at Georgia State University. And I'm part of the team that we are developing this new master's program. It's a terminal master's in virtual production and VFX. And that I taught this spring was virtual cinematography, which is based on the fundamentals of Unreal Engine fellowship trainings. The students have all created 5 short virtual production films in 1 semester. So as far as production ready goes, the students are production ready.
Wow, that's incredible. So no pressure there.
I also wanted to dive a little bit more into your research that you do at Georgia State University. I think you mentioned that you worked with the Department of Anthropology. Could you tell us a little bit more about the work that you do there and as it relates to motion capture animation as well?
Absolutely. That's an exciting journey as well. Before moving from New Zealand to Atlanta, Georgia, we undertook a self-study project to bring the 9,000-year-old Kennewick Man back to life. My interest in archaeology and anthropology from way back in doing my undergrad program really kicked into gear when I was studying how the Kennewick Man was never ever displayed in any museum. So nobody has ever seen the skeleton. And we reached out to the museums and we brought the Kennewick Man back to life as a digital human. So that part of my research studies as well, which is deeply ingrained in the emotional and empathic responses of digital humans. So digital humans are just characters, 3D characters. So now coming to Georgia State University, we are looking at how can we bring history back to life. So from archaeological digs in Peru, as well as in Mexico with the Mayan digs. Yes, those digs are amazing. And yes, we can create virtual worlds, but a virtual world isn't going to come to life if we don't have the people there. The traditional way of living, the way of dancing and joy and enjoyment, and those are the aspects that we are now looking at, and how we can incorporate performance capture into bringing that back to life, and how performers can characterize the persona of the actors who would be in that room.
How do you start researching this motion? What is your process, and how do you start creating and focusing on these different motion performances?
I would say the first and foremost thing is to understand body dynamic, body movements, people watching. That's the key. By understanding how every individual moves, what we need to emphasize on are the asymmetries. And I'll repeat that again. The asymmetries are what make every individual unique. And so if I had to do performance capture for let's say a pirate who has a wooden peg for a leg, how would he work? Where's the center of gravity? How does that change his gait? And what happens if he also has a hump on his back? What are your pain centers? So these are the small aspects. Once we start becoming conscious about how the inverse kinematics and the forward kinematics work, and I believe it would be a whole lecture trying to explain what IK and FKs are, but look it up. Anyone watching this, look it up. But inverse kinematics and forward kinematics is what moves our joints in our body. And that is a crucial understanding. What are the limits? Of course, there are exceptions. In nature, there are people who are double jointed, and I'm not talking about them, and neither am I excluding them. They are unique performers, and they are very far few and to come around. But yes, that's what I would say. Just watch how people move. If you go back again in time, the classical actors like Robert De Niro, and who was the actor who played Godfather? Jeez, I've just forgotten his name. They literally live as the character that they would be playing, right? They live and breathe the character. That's because they want to actually understand how this person is going to move. Sylvester Stallone actually started living like Rocky was living when he was doing Rocky Balboa movie, right? So he could literally become Rocky. And that came through. It was not only the fact that he was a great action hero and a boxer as well, but he could bring the emotion of this character that he was playing. And that now translates to animation, to virtual production. Yes, we can have voice over AI, synthetic machine learning and everything. But again, the asymmetries, if those are missing and everything is perfect, the human brain doesn't understand it. So having those slight differences is important. It's same as every person, your dominant hand is bigger than your other hand. Same with your feet. It's amazing. Nature put those asymmetries in everyone.
Pivoting away from the research and touching on production, one of your recent projects, Oyun's Quest, has gotten more and more traction and more accolades from the short that you've started. Could you dive in a little bit more into your production process?
Oyun's Quest is actually a really close project to my heart. Just before the lockdown, Oyun's Quest was written as a live action. But then I really wanted to try the emerging technologies. So we decided, okay, you know what, we're going to try and make a game out of it instead. And we actually ended up hiring professionals. And within a month, we fired them. Reason being was, they were simply button pushing. They did not understand how to look for solutions. They would come to the production meeting and the narrative was, these are the issues. And my answer was, I know, I created them. What is the solution? We don't know. So we decided to make Oyun's Quest into a global internship program. And that actually gave us the opportunity to bring in young creatives who wanted to experiment. And we encourage creative ideas. If an intern has an idea, what if we do this or what if we try that? The answer is yes, let's do it. You're the product owner of this idea, so you're going to lead that idea. In experimentation and research and development is where we found the solutions, right? And that also added value to all the interns who have come through Oyun's Quest, and the new round should be starting from about June or July this year. What we decided was the game as a game would just become another game on the shelf. So we converted it very quickly, organically, into a narrative story, a linear narrative rather. Oyun's Quest, we released the prologue short film for the series. The series is currently in production. And we just wanted to showcase that to the world. All these interns who have come through, and they were not all students. We had industry professionals who interned with us, script writers and storyboard artists and everything. And we just wanted to showcase to the world that, hey, look, this is what we created. The short film is 13 minutes. The production budget as a traditional for a 13-minute short film, we were sitting between 85 to 110,000 roundabout. And we managed to release the short film under $10,000. And that's where we wanted to showcase and tell the creative, the indie creative, that, hey, look, it's not only about money. It's not only about fancy big toys. You have a story to tell. There are tools out there that offer you the solution. Look for the solution before you pick up the tool, right? And with the interns, when we found out about DeepMotion, the interns were role-playing. Okay, what about this? What about that? The project is based, again, in research around 7,000 BCE, pre-Siberia boreal era. And we looked at human evolution and looked at the gene pool that was found archaeologically in Siberia. It was a mixing pot of all different skin tones and cultures. So we used that to build a fictional world. And the interns had the opportunity to actually role play and have fun. And we were recording it, whether it was on a phone or with a camcorder or whatever. Sorry, I'm showing my age, saying a camcorder. And that's where these interns could use the freemium account. They could upload the video and get some sort of emotion data that could then be connected to the digital humans, actors that we created. And we had pre-visualization that was then quickly iterated and polished, and we were into production. So that's where it became really streamlined work. So the industry standard workflows of today are not industry standards. They are mere guidelines. Everyone must choose their own workflows. And in all honesty, hand on heart, I've not been paid to say this if anyone's listening, but DeepMotion, look into it. Why? Because it gives you an iteration in the shortest time possible. Is it perfect? No motion capture data is perfect. There is always noise. There is always biases of the performer. But you have an iteration which helps you to work with agile processes. And we put it in film festivals, and we have won over 26 or 28, I've lost count now, Best Animation, Reels Choice Awards, Excellence Awards, nominations, multiple international film festivals. And now the series is in production, and we are hoping to release it on Prime Video. So it's exciting times. We've got another 3 productions currently starting simultaneously. So one of them, I can't give too much details away, but I'll say is the story of bringing a Neanderthal man back to life, again, based on research.
Yeah.
We created the distant human based on skull data and facial reconstruction. Yeah.
So you've already shared some valuable insights just through your journey and your research and what you focus on. But if you were to give aspiring creators one piece of advice, what would you want them to walk away with?
I would say, first of all, forget about what the industry is telling. And the reason I say that is more often than not, I see a lot of young new creatives come into the industry, last no more than 1 to 2 years and burn. And we lose a lot of good talent. Yes, the industry is hard. There are no jobs. This industry is only contract. You could have a feature film contract of 3 to 5 years, but it's only a contract. Tell your stories. When you write the story down, visualize the story, whether it's in form of a storyboard, whether it's form of a flip book or animatrix, whatever medium that suits you. Switch on your camera on your phone, put it on a tripod, and act the scene out. When you act the scene out, you add energy to it. It inspires you. Your enthusiasm becomes contagious. As Albert Einstein said, creativity is contagious. Pass it along. Don't be worried about your work being stolen. A lot of young creatives, they write some amazing stuff, but don't worry that it is going to be stolen. Be proud of it and show it to people. If you cannot get funding, don't be disheartened, because the technology that is available today, we did not have available when I was a student, although I'm a student of life. So use this technology. Work as a traditional production would work. Do a time budget. Do not do a price budget. A time budget keeps you true to the time. The show must go on. The project must be delivered. As I mentioned earlier, in one semester, which is 12 weeks, the students created 5 short film, virtual production short film, who have never, ever done any cinematography. Each film is between 4 to 6 minutes. So anyone can do it. To the audience, on breaking the fourth wall, you can do it. So characterize your story, build the persona of the digital actor, and understand body dynamics. That is going to assist you to rehearse and embody your character. Role play the character. Role play your story. Record those roles. So yeah, that's, I think, the advice I give to my students and I would give to anyone.
Thank you for sharing that, Jeasy. And I think that's also doubly relevant as we're very conscious as a AI tool offering how some creatives react to AI tools. Sometimes the feeling is that AI tools take away from the creative process or can take over the creative process. So there is a little bit of hesitation to share, and sometimes there's an enthusiasm to also use these tools as part of the creative process, which I think is absolutely right. Bringing it back to the quote that you mentioned earlier, which is creativity inspires creativity. So just want to say thank you again for sharing that. We're excited to help any indie creators as an accessible motion capture tool, being that we remove all the barriers as far as you don't need expensive motion capture suits, you don't need multiple cameras, you have just a single camera view, video record yourself, or footage that you find that you want to create an animation motion capture from. Is how we help right now with Animate 3D. But our tools are also evolving, so we're excited to work with you and get your insights on making these tools more available and more accessible. Students, aspiring indie creatives, and industry veterans alike. So thank you so much for sharing your insights.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm still learning. This new field of virtual production is an open playing field. Nobody is an expert or a master in it. Yeah, let's create some powerful narratives. And I'm excited to see the developments coming out of DeepMotion. I believe I need to use it a little bit more to get my head around the new things and the machine learning algorithms that are being incorporated. Yeah, it's exciting times. So thank you again so much, Diana, for giving me this opportunity to speak with you and share a little bit of my story. I have a lot of stories to tell. I'm a cinematographer, so.
Yeah, for sure. Creativity inspires creativity. Just to wrap up, thank you for everyone who's joined us. If you're interested in learning more about Jeasy and all the various projects that he is a part of, we will be including links in the description associated with this content. That being said, we will continue to share more stories from industry creatives, as well as tutorials and advice. So go ahead and like, follow, subscribe,